All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. Let's start this discussion on the state of healthcare. On Wednesday, 12 counties medical workers will be downing their tools, completely paralyzing healthcare services in the specific counties. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, Governor for Kisumu, is joining us online. Dr. Davji Atela, KMPDU Secretary General, is here with us. Honorable Patrick Munene is also with us. Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe, Member of Parliament, but is here in his capacity as the Vice Chair, Health Committee at the National Assembly. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you all for making time. Send in your views at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. I see a lot of them coming through. We'll try and squeeze them into the conversation right now. But Governor Nyong'o, I'll start with you on this. This is a consistent issue here. Every single time there's industrial action for medical workers. What, in your view, is the lasting solution to this industrial action, considering you've been a governor and you've been dealing with these healthcare matters for quite some time now?
I think first of all, let's get health financing correct. Health financing should be based on the fact that health is basically a county function, but there are some aspects of which are national function. For example, handling financing itself is Minister of Health and the Treasury. Policy making largely is the Minister of Health. Regulations and training. Those are the very important things that the Ministry of Health handles in the healthcare delivery system. But we must also understand that healthcare delivery is also in private hands in Kenya. Quite a large number of people seek healthcare from the private sector, and those should be regulated, and there should be public policy addressing health delivery in private sector as well, which will and definitely does affect the way health is delivered in the public sector. As far as I know, the perennial problem has been financing, really. Issues of policy and regulations and so on can be addressed by the two arms of government, I think, if people cooperate rather efficiently, so they don't really raise so much problem, except when they're not addressed in time and good policies and regulations put in place. The Constitution is very clear. I don't think the Constitution is doubtful at all or sheds any doubt in how health should be delivered. And I think if we did that, then a lot of problems would sort out.
Governor, one of the counties that healthcare workers are going to go on strike is your county as Kisumu. What are you doing to avert this? And are you able to avert it in any way? Because no counties have said that they've not been given the allocations for the last 4 months.
I don't think county of Kisumu, they're going to go on strike. I had a meeting with their leaders, and we had a very amicable solution to our problems. But I don't think we're going to go on strike. This is the first time I'm hearing from you, because we had a very good meeting last week. I was with the health minister today. Nothing of that came up. So I don't think in Kisumu we're going to go on strike.
All right. Davji, which counties are these that you say are going to go on strike?
There are 12 counties that are going to go on strike. We call it a walkout. It is not necessarily a strike. It's a walkout. You see, a strike, you will sit down with the county government and have negotiations. But for a walkout, you'll just give the notice that is legally the same one as the strike, but you don't need to bargain on anything. You don't need to negotiate. And this is particularly for salaries. And one of the counties is Kisumu. Kisumu has not paid salary for the month of March, but they paid salary for the month of February in April. So it is necessarily all the workers in that county actually are going to proceed on strike, both the doctors, the nurses, the clinical officers. Kisumu County also took the healthcare workers who had given notice earlier to court. And today the court dismissed the orders of these particular healthcare workers and said that they should proceed on the strike. And it is protected in the sense that the need to be paid salary is a right. And you cannot be expected to be at work when it is 20th day of the month, and you do not know when the salaries will come. Yeah. Actually, all these 12 counties that we've mentioned, if by 19th, that is Wednesday, any of them has not paid salaries, they should not expect any worker in the particular facilities. This is Kisumu, this is Nyamira. Kisii was among the list, but Kisii paid today. We also have Murang'a, we have Laikipia, we have Mombasa, and we have Taita Taveta. So all these counties have not paid salaries, and also they have not remitted certain deductions. It means that those people who have loans, their loans have not been paid. So for example, if Kisumu paid February salaries, all those doctors, nurses who have loans, that money went to loans. They do not have anything to actually facilitate them to go to the hospital to do the work. Okay. That essence what will happen on Wednesday.
Prof, how are you dealing with this issue around non-payment of salaries?
Look, my friend, I told you that Kisumu people are not going to go on strike. We know the way we are dealing with it. If some unionists insist that they're going to go on strike, that's their own problem. But as far as I know, as governor of Kisumu, it's the first time I'm hearing from somebody from outside Kisumu saying we're going to go on strike. We know how to solve our problems. And I had a meeting, a very successful meeting with the leaders. And I would not be here saying that if we didn't do that. So if there's something that has happened since I left Kisumu at 4 o'clock, I'll discuss it tomorrow with the leaders.
Yeah, Governor, Eugene here, before I bring in Munene, Eugene on Twitter says, county governments managing the healthcare system is a pure joke. We can only hope for the betterment if health sector management is taken back to the national government. And I know you've had this argument before. Is it an argument that holds water, that this healthcare should just be reverted back to the national government?
No, Trevor, I think you're not being fair, because you know for certain that the fact that the communities don't have money is because it has not been remitted from the treasury, because the financial crisis in the country is not our wish that these salaries are not paid. If we don't receive our due share or in the Divisional Revenue Act, then we don't have the money. But we in Kisumu know what we do, and so to say that it should be returned to the national government, the same national government is broke, is a joke, by the way.
Okay. And Munene, let me bring you in on this. You're the vice chair for Health Committee in the National Assembly. Of course, there's your Senate counterpart, and they are supposed to be oversighting county governments. But what are you doing to ensure that counties, first of all, get their money, in as much as that is the role of the Senate, but also the healthcare workers? What are you making sure that they're taken care of?
Thank you. First, I wish to say that health is a devolved function, but not purely devolved, as Governor said. The national government takes care of policies and regulations, and the current government has taken the issue of policies and regulations very seriously. We have formed a body that will be dealing with that, so that we don't have strikes again related to policies and regulations. But on the issue of salaries, I think senators are the ones who oversight the county government, but also as national government, as the National Assembly, we have a say. And what I want to say is that the issue of paying salaries is an issue of priority. As long as we might want to say that money has not been taken to county government, I would wish to give an example of CDF. I'm a member of parliament. Right now, the country, as Governor is saying, is facing financial crisis. And the members of parliament have received, not all their CDF, we have received around 40% of our CDF money. And when we received 40%, as a National Assembly, we agreed that this 40%, because the most urgent thing for us now is school fees, let's use this money to pay for bursaries and then pay our workers. So we didn't rush to build classrooms and do other things. We paid the bursaries and our workers. So I don't believe that county government have not received even a cent. Secondly, we have something we call the revenue accounts, their own source revenue account from county governments that are treasury. And I believe the money is released to county government every month on request. And most counties, like the big counties, are able to release their own revenue, their own generated revenue that can be able to pay salaries if it was really a priority. So I believe as we go through this financial crisis, we need to prioritize the issue of health workers. I wouldn't support really a strike from health workers, and I congratulate the governor, having said he has talked to his health workers that they won't go on strike, because a strike from health workers means death. It means suffering for our people. So it's not something I would really support, but I wish that governors would really take paying health workers as a priority.
So you think it's a lack of prioritizing the payment of health?
It's a priority issue because other things are happening. You know, even in your own family, there's no time you will receive all the money you want. There will never come a time, you as the owner of a home or a family, where you receive all the money you want. You'll have everything you need. But at times you realize that you have paid fees for your children and you have not bought new tires for your car because you don't have all the money. So it's an issue of priorities.
Okay. Governor, is that true that this is just an issue of prioritizing who to pay first and who to pay next and last?
No, I think we should argue from the point of view of facts, not wishes. You see, first of all, you must know that the health sector consumes the majority of salaries paid in the counties, by the size of the health workforce, but the demands of the health sector. So it's not small monies, by the way, that if you don't get money from the treasury, you can pay. You must understand that what comes as own source revenue, as a percentage of the revenue in any month, is just about 10% or so. So let's argue from the point of view of facts, not what we wish could happen. The governors are not malevolent individuals. Governors are very committed to their counties. That's why they're elected.
But some counties
and
are
this you discuss with the county assemblies, and the county assemblies have more information, by the way, than the parliamentarians, because they deal with the real situation. So if we want to help each other, let us understand from inside what the facts are, rather than what we impose at you, what you think ought to happen, which is not backed by reality. So I'm not going to spend my time talking about that. I've told you exactly what you are doing. I've been Minister for Planning. I know about these things. So let's talk on facts.
And those are the facts that we're talking about.
Fact is that some counties have paid. You're only talking about 12 counties that have not paid salaries. So it's only the 12 counties that have not received money from Treasury. My county, Tharaka Nithi, has paid. Kisi paid today after a threat for a strike has been given. Where did they get money from? Governor engaged his health workers yesterday.
And actually, if you look at it...
I'm telling you, in the case of Kisumu, we have been paying salaries very promptly, and we know how we do it. I'm not going to discuss that. So if somebody thinks they know more about Kisumu than myself and is parading Kisumu somewhere as a country which has not paid, I'll deal with that tomorrow.
No, for the benefit of the people who are watching, Governor, that's why we want to know what really is the lasting solution to all this, because you're here to set the record straight, having run your county for 2 terms now. So you know what's really going on there, because I see here, Bob...
The lasting solution really is to face the fiscal crisis in the nation, not to try and pass the buck to the counties. I mean, the fiscal crisis of the nation is what is causing all this. Up to now, the issue of paying salaries have never been a problem in Kisumu. It's only this time, because we had not received the money since December. You want us to cover January, February, March, and April from on-source revenue. That doesn't make good mathematics, by the way, if you know what budgeting is in the counties, and other equally urgent things that we have to pay. And we prioritize our health workers. By the way, Kisumu is one of the counties with the best indices when it comes to health service delivery.
If you look really at the counties in terms of prioritizing healthcare, it's actually something that we can say exists. And that's why, as much as we are saying the country is on a cash crunch, the reality of salary delays for healthcare workers has been there from the devolution. It has been a consistent problem. And that's why we've seen more than 100 strikes in counties over the last 10 years. And this is, we say it's a deliberate. We think that the governors always use the healthcare workers as a chip of bargain with the Treasury and with the government. And it's high time, actually, that we see that healthcare workers need to be treated differently. Just the same way we have the Police Service Commission, we have the Teacher Service Commission. Governors said clearly that they had depend on the exchequer's funds to actually pay healthcare workers. Then why should money come from the Treasury to the conduit of the governor's accounts, then to the healthcare workers? Why can't we have a centralized body that then now will just pay healthcare workers directly? Because then that will change this conundrum of every month. As I told you, Kisumu paid February salaries last week. Some counties paid after 3 months. Taita Taveta has been having perennial salary delays. Mombasa had the same scenario. So these are things that are continuous.
In that situation, who is to blame here? Because the counties are saying they haven't received their allocation, and those are delays coming from the national government. The same national government that some of your healthcare workers have been arguing that healthcare should even be reverted there.
I would say there's an existing inefficiency in administration between the national government and the county government. And the healthcare workers should not fall into these inefficiencies in administrations. The healthcare workers do their job faithfully at the hospitals. So the failure to pay them and expecting them to be at work faithfully is immoral in one way. It is not objective. It is against the law. It contravenes all rights in essence. So ideally, some people should be paid. And we are saying that we are giving a permanent notice that every county need to pay the health workers by 5th. Because you saw here recently when parliamentarians, for the first time since independence, I heard it on the news, had the salary delay with 4 or 5 days. There was a problem in the whole country. But we face this every month. We have normalized salary delay. It is not right. And that's why we are saying on Wednesday, the county governments need to know that healthcare workers have a right, and if health is an essential service, then prioritize them.
So what happens when the counties don't receive their allocation on time?
They should if this discussion had come earlier, they should actually say, we are tired of managing this healthcare and we cannot manage it. And I remember Prof said this one time, that health should go back to national, not really health, the health workforce aspect of it. We can have primary healthcare remaining with the counties, because we've seen ECD successful within the counties, but the health workforce, which in essence will be budgeted for just like other independent constitutions, like independent commissions, like I said the Teacher Service Commission, the police, we will not have all those issues. Okay. But you see, in this case where the funds have come to the counties, and the counties have other projects that they will prioritize over the healthcare workers, until healthcare workers give notices that these monies get to be paid. Okay. It's all right.
Munene, is there a policy shift that we require where the HR services, at least of the healthcare workers, then reverts to the national government?
You know, Obija, we find ourselves in a very tricky situation, and I know the president also finds himself in this tricky situation. Because during his campaigns, there was this promise, and I remember I'm the one who brought this issue to Parliament, last Parliament, that we needed a Health Service Commission. But the Council of Governors and the governors really fought that idea. They said that we are crawling back on the achievement of devolution. We can't take care of the back to national government. And I think the president accepted that, because I believe the president respected devolution and said, it's okay, let's have health in the county government, but because of the issues of policy, because policies run across the country, they are not county-based, because of the issues of regulations, let's have a KLAC, a Kenya Health Human Resource Advisory Council, that will learn the issues of managing health workers, but not their pay. Let their pay be, the payroll remain at the county, but their management policies, so that we can be able to share things like specialists, we can be able to learn things like internships as a national government together. But if you try to touch the issue of health workers and county government, you'll be accused of crawling back on the achievement of devolution. I don't really think devolution has been a bad thing, because looking from where we have come from in the health sector, it has not been no bad for governors. They have tried. If I go to county government and visit some of the hospitals that I used to see before devolution, and health centers and clinics, I believe they have tried, but there is much we can do.
Okay. Governor, is forming a health service commission one of the possible solutions in your view?
It is not.
Why not?
It is not, because, you see, it's a very simple idea that a self-service commission, by its very name, will solve the problem. Nobody has told me in details, chapter and verse, how the health service commission will be the solution. It's just asserted. It is assumed, but once you mention a commission, ipso facto, it becomes a good thing. Nobody has given me good reason, well reasoned, why a health service commission will be better than what's going on now. Nobody. It's always asserted, but why it is going to be useful and how it's going to be used, how it's going to work, how it's going to improve the situation. We are very sensible, by the way. If you bring us that paper and we are convinced, we shall follow. We are not idiots. Just do it. Sit down, write about Health Service Commission, bring it to the Council of Governors. We shall.
All right.
Yeah, I think when you look at...
Davji, how is the Health Service Commission going?
When you look at the country, and I think this has been in the public, we have about 4,000 unemployed doctors. We have some institutions, even in Kisumu, like Ahero, which are being closed because they're understaffed. We have that in the last 5 years, from 2017 to 2022, on record, of the number of doctors that have graduated, only 10% have been employed. We have the same to clinical officers, the same to nurses, the same to all these other cadres in the country. In fact, from the Council of Governors report of 2021-2022, the whole country, they only employed 700 healthcare workers, which was amounting to about 3% of the graduates of that year. That is a clear demonstration that the devolution of healthcare is not working as expected.
So what will the Health Service Commission do?
That's what I'm coming to. Yeah. Because then now, with all this dependent on governors to look at the budget and see where they can employ, they've not been employing. So with the Health Service Commission, there'll be a budget that is set aside for annual recruitment of healthcare workers as per the need of the country. In this country, we need about 60,000 doctors to reach the WHO recommendations of 1 to 1,000. But I can tell you they're not employing. the same to the nurses, the same to all these other cadres. So with Health Service Commission, this budget will be there. We have seen teachers being employed every year. We have seen police being recruited every year, because that budget is set aside and is not subjective to other activities within the counties. So this will be one thing. Number two, we look at the issues of promotions and the issues of CBA negotiations. It will be a streamlined process. There will be no need of having an industrial actions to actually have these things implemented. But what is the overall benefit it has to the nation and to the people? We have seen counties not employing. If you go to hospitals currently as it is, you will not see doctors. You will not see nurses. And why are you not seeing them? Because they have not been employed. And the governors and the CECs and the political leaders do not visit these public facilities. So they do not see the danger of not having healthcare workers in the facilities. Building the hospitals and having them beautiful cannot assure any kind that they'll have services. But when you have at annual recruitment, you will have an hospital, and then the governors with it, the facility can now demand from the Health Service Commission the doctors to be brought down. Now, every county will tell you that according to the controller of budget, they've reached the ceiling of the amount that they can spend on wages and the amount they can use to employ any healthcare worker, and they're not going to employ. Yeah. So we are not going to see any changes in public health delivery in the country.
Okay.
Yes.
But Munene, there are those who say that the Health Service Commission is just going to be another added layer of bureaucracy, because we already have the national government, we have the county governments, they're not passing the money. So even if the Health Service Commission is there and they don't get the budget allocation or the disbursement is late, what will they do? And they're going to be in the same quagmire like the governors are.
No, you know, my brother, I think you're also going back to this debate of not receiving funds. We are done with that debate because we said we are discussing 12 counties that have not paid. So are we saying 12 counties did not receive money? So the debate of not receiving money when we are discussing 12 counties might not really come on the table. That's why I talked about commitment to pay and the priorities to pay. Because I believe the other counties that have paid, they prioritized paying health workers and they paid them. So we can't discuss the issue of not having money. I told you as a member of parliament, the only money I've received is 40% of my allocation. And I've given out bursary because I prioritized bursary. I did not go to do a load. I did not go to construct a classroom. I've given bursaries only, but I know I need to construct a classroom after that, after I'm through with the basics. So the issue of, because there's no time that a country will have enough money for everything. There is no time that the money that's supposed to go to counties will go to counties at the same time. So it will depend with the priorities we put. So the issue of having money released should not really come to play. Though we all know we are going through hard economic times because we had a government that took loans like they are going to buy cars, short-term loans. How does a government take short-term loans? I can tell you, my brother, right now, we have loans maturing every week. Every week, a loan is maturing in Kenya. Every week, a main loan is maturing in Kenya. Because we took loans for 2, 3 years, 4 years. So loans are maturing every day in Kenya. And it's a problem we must face. And the president has always said, let's not cheat Kenyans that we're in a good place. We are finding ourselves in a tight place, and we should know how to manage the position we find ourselves in. And that's why I'm saying to manage it is first, even for county governments, to realize that health is critical, we pay all the workers first. I've heard Damji saying that county government have exploited all their quota for employment and salaries. We should ask whom did they employ, because he's saying they did not employ nurses, they did not employ doctors, they did not employ clinic officers. You find they employed administrators, until we reach that quota where we can't employ anymore.
Okay. So, Governor, let me bring you back in this. And there's a tweet here from Peter Deuri, who says, what's the priority for governors now that salaries are delayed? Is it salaries or development? Time for counties to cut unnecessary spending. We are very sure county bosses will not do that. And I also have another conversation here from Ben Ndolo, Bob Ndolo actually, says, kindly ask Professor Nyong'o why he cannot use the local revenue to pay medics as they wait for the treasury to disburse funds. So tell us this balance for the county governors. Which one comes first?
You know, my friend, I think I've tried to answer that question, but I think people have fixed minds about it, which makes discussion very difficult. You see, a budget is not something you just decide. This money is from local revenue, so we give it to doctors. This one is from the national government, so we give it to county workers. No, you don't do like that. The Country Revenue Fund is a fund to which all revenues go. And there's something called a budget, which is passed by the Assembly. And that budget is law. That budget tells you how to spend your money. And when you spend that money, it goes for the purposes for which it was intended. Now, if you don't get money in time and you have a budget already operational, you're not going to change that budget overnight to suit the delays coming from the national government. You have to submit a supplementary budget to the Assembly, for the Assembly to decide how the budget is being changed. Then after that, you can pay. It's a process, and an MP should know that the same thing happens in the National Assembly. So if the money comes late, and there's also another rule that you cannot plan to spend money if you don't have it. So first you must have the money, then you plan to spend it. That's a process. Submit a supplementary budget to the Assembly. They will pass it and give you power to spend it. It is not because the money is not there at the time that the salaries are due. It is because the money, if it is there, there's a process that determines how it is spent. So that process may not necessarily coincide with the end of the month. It depends when the Treasury releases the money to enter the County Revenue Fund so that you can process it for paying. Okay, so this is something that we set down with our health workers, and they understand. So if somebody knows more about Kisumu than I do, and is parading Kisumu somewhere as a country which has not paid, I am telling you that I didn't have that information. I will go tomorrow to have a meeting with my minister to find out whether this is the truth or not.
Trevor, I think Governor has answered that question very well. And I would really hate to make this national discussion about Kisumu. It's not a discussion about Kisumu County. The Governor has answered the question very well, that in most times, it's not that there is no money, it's an issue of processes. That's a very good answer. That we really don't have, it's not a problem of not having money, it's an issue of processes. So when we say we have not paid for 3 months, so it's an issue of processes?
That was because the money was not there. Look, please, don't ask me a question I've answered. You know that the money has been delayed to go to counties. The last money we received in December. We have ways of doing this, okay? When money is late, that is an internal affair in Kisumu that I'm not going to discuss with you.
We go back to Kisumu.
Okay. So,
so we go back to Kisumu.
No. Let's talk about other counties as well. It doesn't have to be. Yes, Davji.
I like also what the governor has actually answered, that it's a budget process.
Yeah.
And you see, when budget is running, there's a clear-cut information that you know you have healthcare workers as part of your budget system. But you see, the delays in salary payments is just not salary. It's salary and statutory deductions for healthcare workers, to the point that, as I said, most of these healthcare workers can't even access hospital services because they have not been paid for insurance from NHIF. Most of them are in circles that have not been paid. In fact, the rate at which the healthcare workers in the counties get notifications from CRB is much more than even they get any alerts in their phones. Because there's
but look, my friend, let me tell you something.
And this is not only unique to Kisumu.
The way somebody manages their own bank accounts, it's not my responsibility. But if somebody decides that he's going to commit himself to a circle, to all kinds of things which are beyond the capability of his own account to support, that's none of my business. But that's how the Governor managing their account.
Governor, let Davji finish, then I'll come to you.
This is revenue and pay salaries. Once you pay salaries, how somebody manages account in this bank, what kind of debt they have, that's none of the business of the county government.
But Governor, this is emanating from the counties not paying salary and deducting statutory deduction from these workers are not remitting to the institution that should be remitted to. We have Embu as not remitted statutory deductions for over 1 year. And this is what deducted from employers.
Let those counties speak for themselves. You asked me a question about Kisumu, and I think I've answered it.
And so,
if you have a bone to speak with a county, just pick up a phone and call them. Don't ask me.
But the reality is that the failure is not only Kisumu or Embu. It is in all these counties, many of these counties. It's a systemic problem that is continuous.
No, please don't make assertions without facts. By the way, I don't think that's good. And in any case, problems like those will occur from one country to the other. Then you can call governors and different government and sort it out with them. I don't think we make it a national debate on what is happening. I can't be responsible for what is happening in other countries, no.
Just to finalize, I'm just saying this actually indicates the failure and the frustrations that healthcare workers are experiencing in the facilities or in the counties. And when we give a notice for a walkout, it's in essence because of these problems that are there. Doctors and nurses and clinical officers will want to go to work on 19th, but most of them are not able to go because these payments have not been done. So therefore, it's deceased from being only a governance issue to be a societal issue that have to be resolved. And if we see the devolved healthcare is not working into that direction, there's actual need to then see, as leaders of the country, how do we change this particular direction for this issue?
Okay.
That's why we are saying.
So for you, yes, Governor.
I didn't understand what the guy is talking about, by the way.
No, we're talking about these solutions going forward, and he's enumerating what he thinks are the solutions going forward to avert this industrial action from the healthcare workers. And it's not just about Kisumu. I know you don't speak on behalf of all the governors. It's just about the devolved healthcare services and how to make it better going forward. Yes, Davji. So you're giving us your list in terms of... Yeah. Yes, Governor. Go ahead.
I thought I said that at the beginning. I thought I said that we really must have an honest national discussion about health financing. It is a big subject, by the way, and I was once a Minister of Medical Services. I kind of know something about it. And it's not been able to solve it in Kenya. And I don't think the way you're going to solve it is from a National Health Commission. I handled that when I was Minister for Medical Services. I don't think that's the solution because we have all kinds of commissions in this nation, which are also in problems, you see. So a commission by its very nature is not a solution. So let us not be dogmatic. Let's have a national discussion which is open and find out from facts what are the merits of a health commission vis-a-vis devolution. Okay, has devolution failed? Is the Division of Revenue Act working according to how it should work? Why does the government delay disbursing salaries, disbursing revenues to counties for 4 months? Even if you had own source revenue, would you be able to stretch it out for 4 months to pay for all the expenses of the counties? These are pertinent questions we should ask, not dogmatically, but with an open mind. As far as I know, if you expect your money to come from Treasury 1 month and it doesn't come, it put a lot of stress on counties. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, it's just too much. That's a quarter of a year.
So, Governor,
that kind of crisis, if counties are managed it so far, you should thank the counties for managing that crisis for 4 months.
You know,
so, Governor, if we stuck to the Abuja Declaration, would that help in any way?
What did the Abuja Declaration say?
Into the 15% of healthcare to be given, 15% of the budget.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I would say that you need even give more to healthcare in this kind of country because healthcare problems are very huge. If I were you, I would say not 15%, but 20% to healthcare. But the question is, can our national budget afford that? Because the money in the final analysis comes from the budget.
You know, Obija, I think I'm listening to what Governor is saying.
Yeah.
And I would also wish maybe to say this. Even as we discuss revenue from national government and the national government giving money to counties, we also need to know that where does national government get money from? This money we always say national government has not disbursed money. National government has not given us money. Where does it come from? It comes from our taxes, it comes from revenue and our taxes. And also as a governor, at times you find yourself, not 1 month, not 2 months, that you have gone below what you had targeted to collect. It's not always that a county government meets the target of revenue. And the same way the county does not meet the target of collection, even national government misses target of what they had wanted to collect. So even as we judge national government and the presidency that they have not given money to county government, we need to be alive of this fact that as county government miss their target on revenue, even national government also misses the target of revenue collection.
Okay.
So what does that tell us? What argument are you advancing now?
The argument I'm advancing is that the little we get, we prioritize what is important, like other counties have done, the ones that are paid.
Okay. So apart from...
Yeah, but look, my friend, you have repeated that argument over and over again, and I've heard it. Yes, every county has a priority, every county has a past. Every county has different commitments. So all you need to do is come down to Kisumu and find out whether or not we met our commitments. Okay.
So, Davji, the lasting solution to this, because we're wrapping up on this conversation, we're running out of time. But if you're to enumerate as the union leader, what are the lasting solutions for you? We know the realities in this situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, when we see that counties are struggling just to pay the basic thing, that is salaries, I will tell you that what is the other parameters of healthcare functions in those counties. You realize that those counties don't even have drugs because they've not paid KEMSA. You realize that those counties don't even have the reagents. You realize that most of the public, about 80% of them, the population that go to the public facilities, they can't get those services. And therefore, in essence, they will have to seek this care in the private facility, or they'll have to sell their lands.
No,
that is the reality that comes up.
Governor, let him finish. I'll come to you.
That's the reality. That is the evidence that we see.
Governor, let Davji finish. I'll come to you for
That's the evidence that we see when
Look,
they are not
Trevor,
able to pay the basic things. So clearly, Trevor, and this, we have healthcare in the country totally dysfunctional, mostly in the county, in the counties, and that's why you see yesterday when we had this case of Mukumo, the incident that happened there. There was no county there, there's no facility there which could test just the Salmonella typhi, that could test E. coli. These samples had to be sent to Cambridge for test, and then results brought back to the county after we lost those particular students. That's a very sad situation in a country in 2023, when we have said we devolved healthcare.
Okay. Yes, Governor. Yes, Governor.
Trevor, I like to respect facts. You see, there's no need being emotional about this thing, by the way. And to say things like governors don't visit health facilities, MCS, I mean, that's nonsense, really. I mean, you only need to come to Kisumu and see it for yourself, what we do, rather than assert your own versions of what you think we do, you know. Secondly, look, on-source revenue, where does it come from? It comes from the rates and the taxes that local people pay for receiving county services. Those local people can only pay as much as they can afford, given the poverty levels in this country. So there's much more to look into this issue, rather than asserting that counties must get more money from their local revenue. Yeah, we do our best to get it. But if you're going to put some taxes or some service charges on services you're giving to people who are hardly affording it at this point in time, you also have to think twice. So sometimes that local revenue is not collected because the people from whom you are collecting it can't afford to pay as much as they should pay for you to deliver the services to them. It so happens that the national government has various other ways of getting money into the revenue, which counties don't. Because if you look at the laws governing what kind of taxes counties can levy, it is very limited. And when you look at those laws themselves, they also limit the percentage at which you can charge for these services you give to people. So it's a much more nuanced situation than this guy is trying to make it. I think the best thing really, Trevor, yourself, come to a county, sit down for a day or two to understand the internal workings from a county, rather than think that this problem can be solved in a TV program of 50 minutes.
No, Before Samji
Trevor,
takes it back to Kisumu, because I think you need to be polite to the governor. You know, governor is an old man. And I think, Governor, today you are in a bad mood also. I know you to be a good man. Governor, you've tried. And I like the point that when we came here, my brother said you have a strike in your account. And you said you have averted that strike, which is a very good thing. But we wish this would be happening earlier than waiting for a strike. Also, Governor, because...
But the point is that I'm hearing from you that there's a strike in Kisumu. I'm the governor of Kisumu, so I know what's happening there. And I know the kind of meetings we've been having, the kind of discussions we've been having. So if you know more about Kisumu than I do, that's okay.
No, Governor, you've already clarified.
No, Governor, we are through that.
We've already clarified.
Finally, Governor, you know, there's
there was not a strike. You like to say that there was a strike in Kisumu. I was averting.
No, there's no strike in Kisumu, Governor. You have clarified.
Our problems, and nobody had talked about a strike in Kisumu.
We have clarified the strike issue, and it was not even now.
Governor.
It's supposed to be on the
Governor,
19th.
ease up, we finish this. as you're saying that these Kenyans who pay these taxes, pay these taxes under very bad circumstances because Kenyans are poor, Kenyans are going through bad economic times. My only request is when they pay these little taxes they are able to pay, before you buy fuels and buy new cars and do everything else and pay all your 1,000 administrators and people, pay health workers for them.
Okay. We have been paying our health workers. I've told you many times that we have been paying our health workers. And if you want to present another reality for Kisumu, that's okay, because that suits your union interest. But tomorrow I'll go back to town, because now I'm going to sleep, and I'll find much more better information than you're giving.
All right, Davji, let's take final remarks now.
Trevor, we need to have a functional healthcare in the country, and it requires a commitment from both the county government and the national government. But for the last 10 years, it is very clear that there is administrative inefficiencies to have this operationalized. We have seen a situation whereby the last time interns were posted was January. We have a lot that have remained unposted for over now 4 months. So you see, and yet we know that the Ministry of Health has the budget for this. We also know, again, that in the country, there's no employment of healthcare workers, but we expect to have services in the counties. The challenges that most of the governors will not own up to is that the healthcare is dysfunctional publicly in the facilities. But this is because they don't visit these facilities. They have a lot of theoretical knowledge on it, but they don't go down to get services in those facilities, neither their families. So it is the public to come out and go to those facilities, and failure to get the care they need to demand, because it's a right in the Constitution. And when we are out as healthcare workers advocating for health service delivery in those facilities, it is not for us. We're not looking for money. We want every Kenyan to be able to get that care. And that can only happen when we have a functional healthcare in those counties, with healthcare workers, with the drugs, and with all the reagents that are necessary.
Okay.
We need not to see the thing that we have seen in Malusi, where an incident happens, probably at the gates, and the first person that the county bosses go for is the CEO of the hospital, or rather the maid soup of the facility. It's the job of the maid soup to come and open the gates. Those are the things that happen in these particular counties, where governors become very reactionary to issues.
So you don't think disbanding the board of Mama Lucy, which happened today, and the reshifting of the medical superintendent there is a solution?
It's a reactionary
There was
issue. Someone
who was writhing in pain, and nobody, it was actually a pregnant woman.
I am telling you one thing. It's a reactionary issue. The Mama Lucy problem has no healthcare workers. It has a big shortage that has been talked about over time. We have seen all this period. How many doctors have Nairobi County employed to Mama Lucy in this period? There's a record 0 that none has been employed. So changing the maid soup or changing the board without a clear plan to sort out these issues, what is the solution? That's reactionary. And that's what we see in many of the counties over issues of healthcare. But we need to have a robust strategy to make healthcare work.
Okay.
Yes.
Munene, as you make your closing remarks on the Mama Lucy.
My closing remark, I might not go to Mama Lucy first, but what I want to say as the Vice Chairman of the Health Committee in the National Assembly, one, there's a big problem that has been facing county government of health financing. It is the matter of financing level, the health center, the dispensary level 1, 2, 3. Because if you walk to a dispensary today in a county government and you get medicine, you can't pay with an NHIF card. And you know the governor bought that medicine at KEMSA. But when you are treated at level 1, 2, 3, it's free treatment. So it eats into the money of county governments. In the proposed scheme that the president has suggested, the UHC, the cover will belong to the family, and the cover will pay from the lowest level. So we'll have capitation of money, the money that the county government are spending to finance level 1, 2, and 3. The issues of standards, the issues of policies, the issues that have really been affecting governors and the promotions and aligning these things, we'll align them through a Kenya Human Resource Advisory Council. It's already being formed. Very soon it will be working up and running, and I believe that will help us sort some of the issues. But bottom line, as we sort these issues, I will request my brothers governors, we know the economy is not good, but when you get a little money, let's prioritize the health workers. They are important.
Governor, closing remarks.
I don't have closing remarks, but I hope next time we can have a much more informed debate than this one.
Thank you, Governor, for making time. Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, Kisumu Governor. Dr. Davji Atela, KMPDU Secretary General, and Patrick Munene Chuka Gambangombe, Member of Parliament, and also the Vice Chair, Health Committee, the National Assembly. That has been the conversation on this. We'll see how it pans out. The notice is on Wednesday, so we'll see what happens where and when. All right? Bye for now.